For spine-chilling trucker tales, terrifying secrets revealed from haunted highways, Jake had driven every inch of Highway 66, but nothing could prepare him for what lay ahead. The rig's engine hummed a calming tune amidst the vast emptiness, but a heavy dread simmered just beneath. As night fell, the asphalt stretched out like a dark maw, ready to consume him whole. The silence felt thick like fog, wrapping around him until faint whispers broke through, unsettling and indistinct, rising from the blackness outside. Goosebumps prickled his skin. Was it just fatigue? He shook his head, focusing on the rhythm of the tires, the sound almost like a mantra. Yet, something was wrong. He could feel it. He brushed off the feeling as he passed rusting signs advertising long-gone diners, his thoughts drifting to his family waiting back home. But as he drove deeper into the night, he noticed scratches on his truck's side mirror, jagged and raw, as if something had raked its claws across the surface. His heart raced, panic creeping in. It had to be the road or some stray branch. He pressed on, false bravado hanging by a thread. Then, through the dark, a flickering neon sign emerged, a diner, old and worn, battling against the night. Its glow pulsed like a heartbeat. As he pulled in, a chill infiltrated his bones. Every table was meticulously set, forks gleaming like teeth in the dim light of the diner that seemed trapped in time. Dust coated the chairs as if longing for the laughter of patrons now forever absent. Jake stared, dread pooling in his stomach. The silence felt heavy, oppressive, a scene out of a twisted horror movie. Before he could turn back to his truck, his phone buzzed violently. It was his wife, her voice fractured, spilling chaos into the stillness. "Jake. It's Emma. She's gone. The last place she was seen, it's right by you." Panic clawed at Jake's chest. He shot from the diner, heart pounding as fear gripped him tighter than ever. All those stories he'd grown up hearing about Highway 66 rushed back, forgotten travelers, mysterious disappearances, dark figures lurking. The shadows felt alive. He recalled names of those lost, tales woven into the community fabric, legends of a malevolent presence in the night. He had waved them off as folklore, but now they swirled in his mind like a storm. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every mile climbed, Jake felt the walls around him closing in. The stars seemed to blink out one by one, and the whispers escalated, drowning out his thoughts. He clutched the wheel, fingers white-knuckled, barely managing to keep his terror at bay. The highway twisted beneath him, a path he thought he knew, but familiarity betrayed him. Was this the same road, or an unholy deviation? Then he spotted a figure in the distance, creeping closer, blending into the shadows. Memories rushed back, familiar faces, people he trusted. A cold chill speared through him. What if the predator hunting these lost souls was someone he knew? His pulse thundered in his ears as the figure loomed, whispers rising to a maddening crescendo around him. The dawning light was fast approaching, but Jake realized he was fighting for more than just his daughter. He was fighting for his very sanity. Determined, he slammed the pedal, heart racing, feeling the breath of a nightmare clawing at his back. As dawn threatened the horizon, Jake braced himself, seeking truth in the void before him. Would the answering shadows bring salvation or doom? The road bucked beneath Jake's tires as he sped towards an unknown fate, the dim light of dawn battling against the encroaching shadows. He swerved, barely avoiding an unseen obstacle, his heart pounding like a jackhammer. Frantic whispers wrapped around him, a desperate chorus pleading from the depths of the night. If he could just keep moving, keep his mind focused on Emma, keep the images of lost souls at bay. The figure he had glimpsed vanished just as swiftly as it had appeared. He squinted into the rearview mirror, but only darkness lingered behind him like an uninvited guest. Sweat trickled down his back, mixing with terror as he thought he could almost hear her voice calling out, echoing in the void. "Daddy, where are you?" His knuckles went white, gripping the wheel tighter, the leather feeling slick with perspiration. He couldn't shake the feeling that something followed him. Every rustle in the brush, every flicker in the underbrush ignited a new wave of panic, spurring him on. But as the sun crested, whether it was solace or a trick of the light, he couldn't tell. Jake caught sight of a weathered gas station up ahead, its isolated presence a beacon of hope on this forsaken stretch. A flicker of relief washed over him as he pulled in, tires crunching against gravel. Maybe there were people there, someone who could help. He parked and hopped out, desperation fueling his every move. The air felt strangely stagnant, a weight pressing down on him as he approached the entrance. The place looked abandoned at first glance, windows clouded with dirt, a sign creaking in the wind that warned of danger ahead. But the door swung open with a haunting moan as Jake stepped inside, his stomach churning. Dim light flickered overhead, casting shadows that danced around him. Behind the counter was a figure, a woman, her face obscured by darkness. "Help, please," he stammered, his voice trembling. "Have you seen a little girl? Her name is Emma. She's missing." The woman stared at him, eyes void of emotion, lips curling into a knowing smile. "They always come here," she replied, her voice low and gravelly, as if pulled from the depths of the ground itself. Waves of nausea swept over Jake. "What do you mean? Who comes here?" "The lost," she whispered, her grin widening unnaturally. "They seek what remains of themselves. Tell me, do you pray?" Something in her tone set his skin on fire. She wasn't merely unearthing fear, she seemed to savor it. A flicker of movement caught his eye, faces lurking just outside the window, groaning figures blending into the trees. He turned in horror, reality crashing around him. "Get out! They're coming for you!" she shrieked, laughter intertwining with her warning. He stumbled back towards the door, his heart pounding like a war drum as the whispers intensified again, crashing over him like dark waves. The figures outside stared back, hollow eyes locked onto his, their mouths moving in silent desperation. Each moment stretched, time slowing as he pressed against the door, desperate for escape, for truth, for Emma. Then he felt it, a cold breath on his neck. Slowly spinning, his gaze caught the void behind him, the space once filled with that terrible woman now vacant, her laughter echoing through the gas station. The distance between sanity and horror felt razor thin. He bolted for his truck, dread pooling in his stomach. "No, no, no," he muttered, scrambling for the door. The figures from the woods moved closer, shadows that hinted at once being human but now only consuming darkness. The engine roared to life, but as he turned, conviction solidified, the nightmare was only beginning. As he sped away, the whispers morphed into screams, drowning out all rational thought, but as the road widened, the gas station fell from view, and reality warped again. There was no way out. The relentless stories echoed around him. "They are still looking for you, Jake." The fact twisted in Jake's gut like a knife. They knew him. They were always there, waiting. He just hadn't heard them yet. Mind racing, he gripped the wheel. "What have I unleashed?" And as the labyrinth of Highway 66 loomed ahead, Jake understood. He had entered a realm where the shadows folded in on themselves, and the lost were eternally hungry. What awaited him around the next bend? Would the truth about Emma reveal itself, or would the distance he traversed only bury his soul deeper into this nightmarish path? The road stretched into a canvas of uncertainty, each mile unraveling deeper layers of dread. As Jake pressed the gas, the whispers morphed into a cacophony, each voice slicing through his thoughts like a knife. "Help us. Come back. Daddy." He fought against the tides of those haunting calls, drowning out memories of Emma amidst the chaos swirling in his mind. A sense of isolation washed over him, a heavy fog that clung tighter than his seatbelt. The sky, once bright with morning light, now stewed into ominous gray, heavy with foreboding. A sharp curve ahead sent his heart plummeting. He veered, tires skidding against asphalt, barely regaining control. Sweat poured down his temples. "Stay calm," he whispered, but calmness felt miles away. Every glance in the rearview mirror revealed nothing but shadows. Yet the instinct burrowed deeper. Whatever had haunted him at the gas station was still there, lurking, waiting. A sign appeared, decrepit and fading, advertising, "The last stop." Jake's body tensed. A voice in his head screamed to keep going, but he was drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. Was it another trap, another pit of despair? The place loomed ahead, a ramshackle diner perched next to a decaying motel. Reluctantly, he pulled in, gravel crunching under his tires. A flickering neon sign dimly announced "open," but nothing felt welcoming about it. A chill darted up his spine as he approached the door, still feeling the breath of the lost behind him. Inside, the air hung thick and stale. Tables were set but untouched, forks glinting in the undimmed light. He scanned the space, heart racing. Empty booths except for a man in the back corner. Shadows clung to his face, making him a silhouette of dread. "Help me," the man rasped as Jake stepped further in. His skin was pallid, eyes sunken in horror. "They'll take you next." "She's not gone, she's waiting for what?" Jake demanded, panic curling around his throat. "What do you mean?" "They devour the lost. They shape themselves from grief. You will feel her close, but she's not herself anymore. The highway feeds them." The man's gaze flickered behind Jake, his expression shuddering in fear. Jake turned abruptly, dread creeping back in, but the diner remained hauntingly empty. He felt something cold brush his arm, a whisper echoing around him, "Daddy, help me no." "Emma!" he cried out, voice cracking. His mind spun as he fought against the memory, refusing to let it claim him. "Where are you? What do I do?" "Leave. Before they come." The man's voice was urgent, rising in pitch as if he had just noticed the shadows creeping toward them from the corners of the room, twisting and stretching into sinewy forms. Jake took a step back, adrenaline surging again. I can't leave her. The price of hope is steep. Remember, every strand of love binds them closer." Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, plunging the diner into darkness. His pulse quickened, shadows shifted and danced, teasing the edges of reality. The man was gone, replaced by a flicker of movement, shapes coiling in the dimness. "Daddy," the voice echoed again, clearer this time. A figure emerged from the shadows in the doorway, her face obscured but the same haunting plea laced in her tone. "No! Emma!" Jake shouted, taking a step toward the ghostly silhouette. But then the shadows lunged, and with them came screams, a screeching cacophony of lost souls. Panic gripped him, paralyzing, as darkness wrapped around him like chains. Trapped in the bloody thrum of confusion, he fumbled for the door but found it locked tight, an unyielding prison. The last remnants of light flickered, leaving him trapped in the horror of his own choices. His hand gripped the keychain, the metal biting into his palm. If Emma was truly lost, was there a way to save her? Or was he destined to follow her into the darkness forever? As Jake felt the shadows closing in, he braced for the impending surge of chaos, knowing the next step could plunge him into an abyss where hope held no power. What horrors lay just beyond the threshold of the diner as it tore apart? The seams of his reality? Would he discover what had happened to Emma, or would desperation consume him completely? The shadows congealed, a mass of twisted limbs and anguished faces. Jake's breath quickened as he stumbled back, his thoughts racing. What was happening? The air thickened with a stench of decay, something rotting and tortured. "Emma!" he screamed again, his voice barely above a whisper, swallowed by the lurking dread. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but instead, he felt rooted, as if the floor had become quicksand, pulling him down into a suffocating pit of despair. In the swirling darkness, nameless shapes began to emerge, each one a reminder of loss and longing. They wanted him to join them, to share in their agony. Jake could feel the cold fingers of despair clutching at his heart. "Help us come back, Daddy," they called in unison, voices echoing off the walls, harmonizing with the fear that gnawed at him. "No. I want tea," he shouted, clenching the keychain like a lifeline. With a deep breath, he directed his focus inward, battling the encroaching void of their collective sorrow. He suddenly remembered the old man's warning. Every thread of love, every sorrow bound them tighter to this realm. He couldn't let them take him. Not now. Not after everything. His heart raced at the memory of Emma's laughter, her warmth. "I will find you," he cried out, louder this time, infusing his words with the defiance of a father's love. But instead of solace, the shadows recoiled, a wave of anger flooding the room. Suddenly, the flickering lights surged, illuminating the diner for a brief moment. Jake's gaze darted around, catching a glimpse of fleeting faces distorted and mournful. In that heartbeat, he saw them, reflections of people who had disappeared long before, lost to this damned place. How many were trapped here? Then the surge of light flickered out, plunging him back into darkness. Panic crackled through him, he pounded against the door, seeking an escape from the nightmare. "Let me out. I want to be trapped. I refuse." And then, like claws on glass, he felt the shadows scratching at his mind, probing his darkest fears and despairs, dragging him to confront memories he buried long ago. He heard echoes of abandoned cries, and images of past loves, each one a haunting reminder of loss, long past. "Daddy, don't leave," Emma's voice twisted in his ears, electrifying his resolve. Was she truly lost? Was there any hope left? He closed his eyes, willing the memories to surface, focusing on how they once felt the warmth of her small hand in his, the way she looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. "I'm coming for you. I believe." With each commanding shout of love, a glittering light sparked in the darkness, pushing against the oppressive void. The figures around him shrieked, their howls rising to a fever pitch as the very air trembled. And just like that, the door rattled. Then it burst open, splintering in slow motion. A gust of cold wind swept into the diner, swirling through the shadows and crashing against Jake's chest, knocking him to the floor. Light flooded in, forcing the entities to retreat, writhing back into the corners where they had come from. Trembling, Jake pulled himself up. Outside, the world seemed moored in an eerie stillness. The heavy, unnatural gray sky was pierced by bright shards of light that seemed almost divine. But the silence weighed down on him. Something felt off. He took a step back, scanning the shadows and flickers outside the diner's threshold. The road loomed ahead, stretching endlessly. "Emma!" he called again, desperation clawing his throat. And there, just outside the diner, he saw a figure in the light, a girl with dark curls silhouetted against the fading gray. What was she doing there? Was this a cruel trick? As he approached, the figure turned slowly, revealing hauntingly familiar features. "Daddy, wait!" as her voice broke through the stillness, a chill knifed through his spine. Because in that moment, he knew the truth was darker than he ever imagined. Emma was calling, but she wasn't alone. With a primal scream, the shadows surged back to life, eager to reclaim their grip, consumed by the promise of despair and the impending horror lurking just beyond. What was waiting for him at the edge of the light? Was it salvation or damnation? Jake braced himself as uncertainty twisted the promise of reunion into a new kind of terror. The shadows writhed and coiled like living serpents, flaring with an insatiable hunger. Jake stepped forward, adrenaline pumping through his veins, but dread clung to him like a heavy fog. "Emma!" he shouted again, desperate. Did she sense the danger? Did she know what roamed beyond the veil of light? As he neared, the figure flickered, blurring into indistinctness. He blinked hard, trying to hold on to an image of the daughter he loved, the child he had lost. "Daddy, don't go!" The plea hung in the air, suspended with the promise of hope and the dread that curled at the edges. Something inside him twisted. An echo of laughter sweet and familiar flickered in the recesses of his mind, momentarily warming his heart. The shadows growled, eager to drown him in sorrow, but he couldn't let them win. He dug his heels into the earth, refusing to yield. Suddenly, the darkness pulsed, revealing elongated faces twisted in sorrow, mouths moving soundlessly. They were coming alive again, crawling from the corners of the diner. Jake felt their icy breath on his neck as they drew near, their insistence wrapping around him like barbed wire. Each whispered name sunk deeper into his consciousness, clawing at his sanity. Join us, share in our pain. With every step toward the figure, the shadows reached out, snagging at his clothes, pulling him back with a desperate grip. No! With a surge of anger, he tore free, stumbling forward into the light. Emma! He shouted, mustering every ounce of will he had left. The girl turned towards him, eyes wide yet hollow. Daddy! The whisper was soft, shattering his heart. Her image flickered again, caught between reality and illusion. Don't listen to them! He shouted, but her gaze seemed entranced, as if pulled by an unseen force. Emma, listen to my voice. Fight! But the shadows tightened, wrapping their tendrils around his daughter, dragging her towards them. Jake could almost see her face, confusion mixed with fear. The darkness around him repelled his thoughts, turning them against him. Was he truly fighting for Emma, or was this what the shadows wanted him to believe? The wind howled outside, and the muffled sounds of distant traffic faded into a haunting rhythm, as if the world had been reduced to a singular struggle. Jake struggled against the suffocating grip of despair, his mind racing. Emma! Remember our time at the park? When we fed the ducks? Remember? He forced the memories out, anchoring his resolve with each fractured piece of their past. He could feel the flickering light of their shared love trying to push against the encroaching shadows. He had to hold on. But just as her features sharpened momentarily, a maw of blackness gaped open, swallowing the last remnants of her smile. Daddy, help! Jake screamed, the sound raw and desperate, as he lunged forward. The shadow entities shrieked, their chorus rising in a cacophony of pain as they recoiled from his determination. That he reached for her, fingers stretching into the abyss, but just as he believed he could grasp her hand, a sharp pain shot through his chest. He stumbled back, gasping in agony as the darkness whispered promises of despair. Feel our pain, join us, no! He cried, vision blurring. Every fiber in him screamed to fight back. But then came a kinship. The dark chill slipped slightly from him, revealing flickers of light and a warmth in his heart. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed, the laughter of a child who loved him unconditionally. Daddy! She cried again. His resolve ignited. He pushed through the suffocating shadows in a roar, plunging into the dark like a soldier charging into battle. Would he have the strength to wrest Emma from the darkness? Would he succumb to the whispers, or would he fight for the family that had slipped through his fingers? In that moment, his mind spun. The question gnawed at him, at what cost would he wage this desperate fight? As he thrust himself into darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling he was not only battling for Emma but also for the fractured parts of himself he had long buried. Yet the shadows surged back, ravenous, urging him to surrender. Their dark laughter filled the void, chasing away hope. The battle had just begun, but which side would claim victory? Jake braced himself. Would he find Emma, or would he be dragged into the void with those who called for him? The truth loomed ahead. What if he could not save her, and what if, in doing so, he sealed his own darkness? Jake plunged into the deepening shadows, his heart racing as if it could outpace the fear clawing at his throat. The howls of the distorted spirits clawed wildly in his ears, an unsettling harmony mixing torment with deceit. He stumbled, fighting against the familiar yet alien voices that draped over him like chains. Emma! Each syllable became a mantra, reverberating off the cold diner walls, an echo caught in a storm that he could barely see the world around him, gray and twisted under the shadowy grip. Within the swirling darkness, he noticed flickers not of light but of something much darker. Figures shifted, their forms rippling at the edges. One shadowy figure, more vivid than the rest, loomed close, its hollow eyes gleaming with a hungry anticipation. "Do you not wish to reunite?" It drawled, its voice a slithering whisper. "She is lost. Just like you." Jake's breath quickened. "No. I won't believe you." But doubt gnawed at his resolve. Was it true? Could he really save Emma, or had he already lost her? Despair clawed at his heart, coiling a heavy weight in his chest. In that breathless moment, the memory of the park shot through his mind like a shard of glass. Swinging high, the sound of her laughter soaring like wind chimes, joyful, carefree. "I need to find her," he howled, a new surge of determination flooding his veins. The dark figure smirked, its form expanding, absorbing the shadows swirling around them. "Your precious memories can't save her now. She's just one of many seeking escape just like you." Jake felt sweat trickle down his forehead. The weight of truth pressed down, and the shadows closed in their presence, chilling as frozen fingers wrapping around his limbs. Panic swelled. They were right. He had long been trapped in the darkness of his grief, spiraling deeper while the world above kept turning, indifferent to his suffering. "Enough!" he bellowed, thrusting his hands forward as if he could break the suffocating darkness. He could feel them recoil, the shadows undulating before him, like a beast reeling from a sudden light, when something glimmered through the oppressive gloom, a soft light at the edge of his vision. A fleeting memory had materialized, but not one of the past. This one was now. Emma. It was a new sound, filled with hope, coming from the far corner of the diner. He willed his body forward, desperate to grasp that flickering light before it vanished. Chaos erupted as he raced, bodies of shadow thrashing around him, heavy breaths shifting into manic laughter. Faces morphed and twisted, mouths agape, all silent yet screaming for him to temper his charge, to accept surrender. "Join us, Jake," they howled. "Step into the dark. Find solace in our pain." The air thickened as he sprinted. Moments of doubt flooded in, gnawing. What if he was racing headlong into a trap? What if Emma had already slipped between the cracks of reality and shadow? "No!" he shouted, heart pounding in his ears. He could almost see her then, illuminated between the darkness, a spectral silhouette, reaching for him. "Daddy, please," she cried, her voice a silken thread tugging at his heart. Feverishly, he extended his hand towards the light. It was real. He could feel that dynamic pull, that connection of love, a lighthouse in the storm. Yet, with each step forward, the shadows coiled tighter, howling like beasts denied their prey. "You can't save her. You can't save yourself," they shrieked, their ghastly voices piercing through his flesh. As he lunged, the light shimmered, flickering almost dangerously like a flame in the wind. He could hear the shadows breaking free, a cacophony of twisted laughter filling the air, each note a reminder that he was in their realm. "Emma!" he screamed again, praying that somehow, she could hear him through the cacophony. Would he lose his grasp on her forever? Just then, he felt a gaping void open beneath him, threatening to swallow him whole. He was falling, plummeting into darkness as the shadows surged upwards, claws reaching out, aiming for his heart. Will Jake manage to reclaim Emma from this darkness, or will he fall into the abyss, becoming yet another soul lost in despair? The answer lay beyond the veil, waiting to be unveiled. Jake's heart pounded as he felt the void below swallow him whole. Falling, plummeting, dread clawing relentlessly at his chest, he could barely catch a breath. Everything dimmed for a moment, suspended in chaos, until he crashed hard onto the cold diner floor. He lay there, gasping, the shadows recoiling momentarily as if startled. The diner had shifted. Tables and chairs were now upturned, creating a maze of chaos that felt all too real. The faint flicker of light from the corner persisted, beckoning him closer, yet the walls pulsed with the weight of despair. "Emma," he whispered, a thread of hope woven in his voice. The shadows hissed, slinking along the ground. All around him, chuckle and snarl mixed with an underlying sorrow, their cold, empty eyes reflecting a hunger that made his skin crawl. "Do not chase the light," one of them whispered from the floor, voice seeping into his mind like smoke. "It will only burn you. Leave me alone." Jake shot back, scrambling to his feet. His determination surged and he pushed past the darkness, feeling their grasp fall away, fingers curling as they lost their grip. The light grew brighter, a soft glow illuminating the corner where he spotted a figure cloaked in veils, indistinct yet familiar. His pulse raced again at the sight of her, the daughter he thought lost forever. He sprinted toward her, desperation fueling his every step. "Emma!" he cried, calling to the child he loved. But she faded, drifting away like a breath of smoke. The brightness dimmed, swallowed by the shadows that buzzed around his ankles, tugging at his sanity. A scream echoed from within him, primal and raw. He dashed past scattered objects, a broken chair, shards of glass that crunched underfoot as he chased the echo of her voice. "Daddy, please do not give in." The shadows urged, thickening their presence. "Join us, accept your fate. She is gone." "No. I refuse." Jake pressed onward, ignoring their taunts. He could see her again, each glimmer of her shifting form became his compass, guiding him further into the depths of torment. He could hear them whispering now, their voices blending into an intoxicating lullaby. "Come, Jake, come to us, stop." He blocked them out, focusing solely on the flicker, his daughter's voice drawing him onward like a moth towards flame. "Emma!" With each cry, the shadows retaliated, screaming in agony, reverberating against the diner walls. "You cannot escape this pain. You belong with us." The air became electric, crackling with their anger. Despite the chaos, he caught sight of movement, a flash of white that was unmistakably her dress, spinning through the dark. He lunged again, fueled by love, hope igniting a fierce warmth in his chest. If he could just grasp her hand, they could escape together, but as he reached out, the sparkling light burst into a dazzling explosion that blinded him, forcing him to shield his eyes. He stumbled back, disoriented, and when he opened them, everything had changed. The diner was gone. Instead, he stood alone in the midst of an empty road, the biting chill of night wrapping around him. Where had Emma gone? Panic rose, cold and slippery, silence hung thick, letting his heart drum loudly in his ears. He glanced around. Nothing but the unfathomable darkness. Then, he heard it, a soft, haunting giggle echoing from afar. High-pitched, innocent, yet laced with a sinister edge. "Daddy, where are you?" That voice, a siren's call, pulled at him, an irresistible lure woven with dread. He gripped his head, disoriented. Was he still in the dream? Or had he crossed into another realm altogether? As the clouds above him parted, shadows crept from the woods lining the road. Tendrils of darkness coiled around the trees like gnarled fingers, beckoning him to approach. Jake's throat tightened. "Emma!" The woods shushed into silence, as if waiting for a decision. Would he follow the voice, knowing the dangers lay in the dark? Or risk losing her again forever? Night curled around him, the weight of the choices pressing down. Now, in the eerie stillness, the shadows quivered. Would he step closer to where fear and hope collided, or would he turn away, letting the darkness claim him? With every breath, the air grew heavier, and he felt the looming specters shifting among the trees, ready to pounce. Time twisted, and the dance of shadows began anew. He took a shaky step toward the trees, heart racing, pulse pounding louder than the night itself. The giggle echoed again, tinged with mocking laughter that sliced through his resolve. "Daddy!" The shadows seemed to sway like a serpent, coaxing him deeper into their embrace. "Emma!" Jake called again, his voice breaking. Each whisper of his daughter's name felt like sand slipping through his fingers, futile and desperate. What if she truly was lost? No, he couldn't think like that. He had to find her. The shadows twisted around him, chilling his bones. "Follow us, Jake," they sang, their voices like rusty nails scraping against metal, a cacophony that made his skin crawl. "We'll take you where she is, or will they?" A knot formed in his stomach, heavy and unwelcome. They were toying with him, but fear gnawed at his reason. He edged closer to the trees, where darkness clung thickly, almost alive, beckoning him further in. "Please!" he shouted, unsure if the plea was meant for the shadows or for himself. "Just show me where she is." The woods shifted, trees bending slightly, as if leaning in to hear his despair. The giggle rang out again, bright and playful, but echoed with an unsettling pulse of wrongness. It felt like it was mocking him, drawing him away from safety, promising warmth the darkness couldn't keep. Then, he spotted it among the tangled roots and crumbled leaves. Flickers of light peeked through the thicket. Hope ignited in his chest, a spark that drowned out the whispers. "Emma!" He stumbled into the underbrush, branches clawing at his face and arms. The shadows lurched forward, slamming into him like crashing waves. "Don't! You'll lose her forever!" they shrieked, but his mind was set. With a final push, Jake broke through, heart racing as he stumbled into a small clearing. There, in the center, glimmering like a star in a pitch-black sky, was a familiar figure, his daughter, her dress glowing bright against the shadows. A jolt of relief surged through him. "Emma!" he yelled, arms outstretched, focusing on the radiant light that filled the air between them, but she was frozen, eyes wide and empty, staring at something behind him. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie stillness that seized his breath. He turned slowly, dread pooling in his gut. The shadows coiled around the edge of the clearing, forming grotesque shapes, their cold whispers curling like smoke in the night air. "You shouldn't have come here, Jake," one hissed, the voice chilling him to the bone. "This is ours." Jake felt a surge of panic and anger. "Get away from her." He stepped forward, but just as quickly, Emma's face contorted in fear. "Daddy, please," she whimpered, as the shadows thickened, consuming the light. "Emma!" He lunged toward her, but they shot backward, pulling her away like tattered threads unraveling from a fabric. The shadows laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "Let her go!" he screamed, racing toward the dark mass, but a barrier of numbness swelled around him, pushing him back. He watched helplessly as the light dimmed, Emma's figure slipping further into the depths of the void. With one final, heart-wrenching cry, everything erupted. The shadows twisted violently, pulling violently at reality itself. Jake felt himself being torn apart, not just physically but deep within, every fiber of his being unraveling. And then, light erupted from the ground beneath him, an overwhelmingly bright flash that filled his vision. He awoke once more, sprawled on the cold, damp earth. Panic overtook him as he plummeted back into darkness, grasping for sensation, for the warmth of his daughter's presence. "Where are you?" he gasped, desperation clawing at his throat. The woods trembled around him, the shadows lingering just beyond the trees like a predator waiting for the right moment to pounce. Among the whispers, he heard something different, a voice that gave him pause. "To find her, Jake, you must give what they request." Before he could respond, a shadow slipped past him, slipping silently into the depths of the woods. Knowing full well he had no choice, he followed, heart in his throat. What would he have to sacrifice to save Emma? Would the shadows ask for more than he was willing to give? Jake pressed on, each step deeper into the nightmare he now understood all too well. The pull of darkness was tangible now, and its price was just beginning to reveal itself. Ahead, the shadows danced, whispering promises of an unimaginable truth. Would he dare find out what lay in wait? The quickened pace of his heart echoed in the shadows, pulsating in rhythm with the whispers that brushed against his ears like cold wind. Jake shuddered, straining to see through the encroaching gloom, past the twisted trunks that leaned and twisted like poison vines ready to ensnare him. A chill crept down his spine, an instinct nudged him to flee, but he could not abandon Emma. The shadow swirled in front of him, forming into a glaring face, obscured and warped like a reflection in broken glass. "You'll need to pay a price, Jakey," it hissed, its voice slithering through the darkness. "What is it you hold most dear?" His eyes widened in horror. "No, what do you want?" He was gasping now, breaths coming hot and fast. The figure raised a long, bony finger, pointing toward a path cloaked in thick darkness. "Follow it, and you'll find what you seek. But beware of what you lose in the process." Its laughter bounced like stones across water, hard, cold, and devoid of life. Jake's stomach twisted. He took a step back, mind racing. "I'll do whatever it takes. Just tell me how to save her. Will you give me your memories?" It whispered, curling back into the shadows, its tone like honey on steel. "Every wonderful moment would be lost, erased forever. Would you sacrifice the love you have for that child?" The proposition left a bitter taste in his mouth. He had flushed out years into a cacophony of laughter and love, each memory like a thread weaving their lives together. But what was the worth of a memory when weighed against her life? He hesitated, though the desire to push forward burned within him. "Choose, Jake," the shadows rustled, closing in. "Before it's too late." He clenched his fists, resolve hardening. "No. I won't trade my memories. I'll find another way." And with that declaration, the shadows erupted around him, a swirling tempest of darkness, taunting him. "Then you were never meant to find her." They shrieked in unison. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled. The eerie giggle cut through the air again, but it was intertwined with something else, a shriek that was unmistakably Emma's, filled with terror. "Emma!" Jake shouted again, urgency fueling him as he stumbled forward, pain flaring through his legs. More giggles, like the tinkling of chimes under duress, ran through the woods, leading him deeper into the haunting. The air thickened, tasting bitter in his mouth, making it hard to breathe. The path twisted and darkened, and more shadows emerged, ghostly figures swirling around like a furious storm. "Dare you confront the truth, Jake?" Barely able to think, all he could process was the need to find his daughter. He pressed on, navigating his way through the maze of darkness, a horde of whispers clawing at his sanity. They echoed his fears, things unearthing deep within his failures, regrets, the chilling thought of not being enough. He stumbled upon a clearing, the floor glistening with what looked like tears, shiny, black, pooling like ink beneath the silver beams of moonlight. In the center, a jagged wooden altar jutted from the earth, pulsating with an ominous energy. A feeling of dread gripped him hard. "Sacrifice your will, and we shall grant you your child," a voice rasped from inside the gloom, slithering around him like a snake eager to strike. "Or roam forever without her." Jake's heart thundered in protest. This was a choice woven with despair. "No. I'll find her my way." But then, a haunting scream ripped through the air, echoing his daughter's name within a symphony of shadows. He whipped around, panic spilling into despair. Jake felt the suffocating pull of darkness wrapping around him, and within, he sensed something shifting, a flicker of hope, or perhaps madness. What had he just unleashed? The shadows were no longer at bay, they were hungry. Just as quickly as the shadows surged, they drew back, allowing the faintest glimmer of light to break through. It flickered like a dying star, illuminating a path fraught with dread. Would this lead him to Emma or to his own downfall, with a final, thunderous beat of his heart echoing in his ears? Jake pushed forward, his resolve wavering but desperation driving him onward. As he reached the edge of the light, a figure appeared within the glow, familiar but distorted. "Daddy," it whispered, but it felt wrong. Not right. With dread pooling in his stomach, he took a hesitant step toward it. Would he recognize her? Or was this another trick of the dark? He was about to find out, but what awaited him in that sickly glow would change everything. Would he embrace it, or would he find himself lost forever? Jake stumbled into the widening glow, breath hitching in his throat. The figure before him was unmistakably Emma, but something was terribly off. The familiar dark curls framed a pale face, her bright smile dulled, as if a filter of shadows had been draped over her spirit. She waved, yet her eyes were hollow voids peering into an abyss, no spark of joy remaining. "Daddy, can you see me?" she whispered, voice trembling as the shadows lurked just behind her, whispering sweet nothings that coiled around his heart like venomous vines. "No!" he shouted, clenching his fists as panic surged. "This isn't you." The shadows exuded anticipation, their whispers rising, "We can keep her forever, if you only let go." Jake's heart raced, a tempest of fear and love battling within him. He glanced around, feeling the oppressive pull of the dark entities closing in. Remembering the truth of his past, he fought against the despair attempting to drown him. It was not just Emma's life at stake but also his and their memories together, packed with laughter, warmth, and love. "Emma!" he called, his voice like a lifeline thrown across a turbulent sea. "You're not lost. Fight them." For a second, her eyes flickered, a faint glimmer of recognition shining through. "Daddy, help!" As she spoke, a shadow lunged at her, threatening to snatch her back into the dark fold. Fury ignited inside Jake, burning hotter than the fear threatening to consume him. "Get away from her!" he roared, a primal surge coursing through his veins as he surged forward, determined to reach her, but the shadows lashed out, trying to drag him back. "Join us! You cannot defy the dark!" they hissed in derision, clawing at his mind. "This is her price, not yours. You can't save that which is already claimed." "No. I refuse." He charged through the grasping tendrils, forcing himself into the light that pulsed around Emma. The soft glow seemed to pulse with affirmation as he thrust his arms around her, pulling her close. "Daddy!" she exclaimed, no longer a mere echo but a real, living child wrapped in his embrace. He felt her warmth, her reality grounded in every heartbeat. But as he turned, the shadows lunged, forming into grotesque shapes, their pulsating mass trying to reclaim what they had lost in that moment. Etched with frantic determination, Jake felt the weight of his memories cleave in two, the joyful moments they shared, tempered against the horrors that lay in wait. "You can't take her!" he cried, drawing strength from every happy sound, the laughter shared in sunshine days, the summer nights spent without a care in the world. "Intervention will come at a cost." The voices shrieked, the shadows swirling about him like a storm gathering its might. "What will you give up?" "I will give up this darkness," Jake shouted, declaring his intent. The air turned electric, swirling with chaos as the very ground trembled beneath their feet. A radiant light began to envelop them, but the shadows writhed, angered by his defiance. They lashed out, pain searing through Jake's chest as they clawed at his very essence. He felt their grip tighten, seeking to unwind his purpose. "Hold on, Emma!" he yelled, clutching her tighter, refusing to let go even as the shadows gripped him mercilessly. He could not afford to drown. "Daddy!" she cried again, the sound pulling him from the depths of despair, and for a split second, he felt her tugging on the very edges of hope. With renewed vigor, Jake planted his feet. "I'll not let you take us!" he roared at the spiraling shadows. "We are stronger." He raised his free hand, feeling the power of his memories igniting within him, every smile, every hug, every moment knitted together by love, a shield against the growing storm. The shadows howled in fury, cascading unpredictably in the whirlwind. They shrieked, "You'll pay the price for your defiance. Then take my pain, my fears, my doubt." Jake exclaimed, pouring every ounce of hardship he had ever faced into those words. He could feel the darkness clawing at him, tearing away pieces of his very being. But with each sacrifice, he felt Emma pulling closer to him, the connection sizzling and warm as if coating them in a protective layer of light. Suddenly, the shadows halted, as if taken aback. For a fleeting moment, clarity pierced through the chaos. Jake realized the shadows were not just feeding on fear but were tied to everything he let go of, the love born from pain. "Let her go," he commanded fiercely, channeling all of his love and memories toward them. It was time to stand firm. The light shimmered violently, pushing against the dark mass, expanding like a diamond bursting into brilliance. The shadows screamed, disintegrating against the mighty force of his resolve. And then, all at once, the shadows fell back, fracturing apart as brilliant light enveloped him and Emma. He shielded his eyes as radiant warmth surged around them, a cocoon of love wrestling the darkness back to wherever it had crept from. Jake opened his eyes, and peering through the brilliant glow around them, he saw Emma alive and smiling, the gleam returning to her eyes. Tucked safely in their cozy sanctuary, laughter echoed, vibrant and pure. They were free. "Daddy!" she exclaimed, her joy radiant in its brilliance. Relief flooded over him in waves, and he scooped her into his arms. The shadows dissolved in the distance, fading into mere whispers, never to haunt them again. "Let us go home, kiddo," he whispered, tears of joy spilling down his cheeks as bright dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating their path. As they walked together, the warmth of the sun enveloped them, a promise of new beginnings, reminding them that in the face of darkness, love would always prevail. Now, don't miss out on the next thrilling tale. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and wild theories about today's conclusion. We want to hear from you. Finally, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need a little fire under them. Your support means everything.